What's up everyone, it's Eternal, and today I'm bringing you the Raid Shadow Legend How to Improve Your Clan Boss Damage kind of guide. I've been spending a little bit of time on this one, just thinking about how to go through it, how to do it, and I think this will be particularly relevant for some of the newer players. Maybe you'll learn something if you're an older player as well, but I would say it's generally going to be aimed at the newer player that's up and coming, you know, maybe trying to move up from normal to brutal, or, you know, brutal to nightmare, that kind of stage. I'm not really, I don't think I'm qualified to talk about Ultimate Nightmare too much because I've only got an unkillable team that can run it. So I'm not really in a position to go over that, but I can, and I am in a position to kind of go over the lower stages of the clan boss, the lower difficulties, and really talk about that and how you can get to that level, how you can kind of improve your damage, and some key and some simple things you can do to that and to get there. Okay, so I'm going to try and go through this quite fast. I don't want to make it too long, so I'm going to work my way through this kind of list I've got here and try and get you guys doing some more damage and living a bit longer. So the first thing to do is to focus on survivability and speed. Now, early on, it'll probably just be speed that you want to increase, but if we go take a look at a champion, like, she's not particularly a clan boss character, but she's a good example of somebody who's geared more offensively. Now, if we're looking at Sinesh's gear, it's got like crit damage, attack, and then speed boots. But you will see a big increase in damage from building your characters more defensively for clan boss. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be easy for your first clan boss team, just because, you know, you might be your campaign farmer. Maybe you went for Kale. You've got a 6-star Kale, but he's your campaign farmer, and, you know, you're using him in clan boss, but you can't really build him defensively because he's your campaign farmer, and that's fine. So when you've kind of done your minotaur and you start splitting your teams off, you will see a good damage increase, just because A, you've done your minotaur, and B, you can start re-gearing your characters to suit, you know, you're kind of building individual teams for individual places. So focusing on survivability and also increasing your speed are two things that you can do to try and increase your damage. So it's that transition from attack percentage and crit maybe to more defense percent and HP percent. As well as this, you can also use an aura in clan boss. Now, if we go to Kale and skills, increases ally HP in all battles. Now, it has to say all battles to work in the clan boss. If it doesn't say all battles, it won't work there. Ideally, you want to pick up a defense aura. So something like this on Tayrel is really great. All battles, 25%, very, very solid. If you haven't got an all battles defense aura, HP or even speed can be very useful too. Now, this one is for anybody that's got a counter attack team. You need to speed tune it. If you have a character such as Skull Crusher, Martyr, or Valkyrie, you need to speed tune your team, particularly earlier on, to boost your damage. If you've got lots of turn meter boosts and things thrown in there, your order's going to be thrown off. Now, I don't have a counter-attack guide. I don't have a counter-attack champion to do a guide, so it doesn't really make sense. But there's plenty of guides out there. Go check out some other guides. Just speed tuning. You want to have your counter-attacker going last, I believe, generally. Unless you're really lucky and you've got like a double counter-attack setup, and then it's going to be different. But that's more advanced, generally speaking, than more Ultimate Nightmare. Improving your accuracy. Now, this one is probably going to help the most earlier on. As soon as you can get yourself an accuracy banner, doesn't have to be 5-star, even 4-star is great, you're going to see a big increase in damage. Now, you want to stick this on a character that, you know, your main debuffer, as it were. Somebody like Kale is a prime example. Just to land those poisons. Poisons do a lot of damage, as you'll probably notice, and the more accuracy you have, the more poisons you land, the more damage you do. As a rough guide, this is very rough, by the way, you want probably 150 accuracy for brutal, 200 plus for nightmare, and then ultimate nightmare is kind of at 250, 300, you know, pretty high accuracy. So KO with 275 here is great for Nightmare, and he's going into that ultimate Nightmare kind of territory, the accuracy that was required for there. Now, like I said, the obvious way to get higher accuracy is on your banner, but Great Hall also provides a significant amount of accuracy, and I would highly recommend getting these up first. The thing to do, it's probably going to be magic you get first, but I got a lot of Void characters, for instance, so what I actually ended up doing was getting Void to level 10 first on accuracy, and now I'm working on the others bit by bit. The next thing you want to do, once you're kind of working on all of these different things here, and I'm throwing a lot of stuff, but get the key debuffs. Now, the key debuffs are going to be attack down, they're going to be decrease defense, weaken, you've got your poisons, and generally I think it's those four. I don't think I'm missing any there. You can work with HP burn if that's all you've got, but poisons generally, because you can put more of them on, they're better than HP burn. Now, ideally you want to get the big versions of these. The smaller versions are not as good, but they will help if you haven't got anything better. The biggest and most important one of these in terms of survivability is actually going to be your attack down debuff, sorry, for the clan boss. So you need to get that on there. So there's some early characters you can use, such as Bogwalker in the Lizardmen or Veteran in the Orcs. They are all viable options. So where are we? Veteran here, Void. He's quite nice early on because he is Void, so he actually doesn't weak hit on the clan boss, which is a big thing. Then Bogwalker's a good option too. He also has an increased defense. I think it's 30%. Yeah, so this is quite nice too early on. He is off affinity if you're against the spirit boss, so bear that in mind. But there's obviously a lot of great epics out there as well. You know, you've got your Jaregs, your Light Swans, Maneater, Tayrel. There's a bunch. There's a lot of really good attack downs. And what makes them so good is that they bring not just one debuff like the attack down, but they can do other things too, like defense up or ally protect or defense down. They're doing a lot of things that are also helping, and it's kind of, they're doing it in just using one character slot rather than having to use 5 to fill up all of those positions and those debuffs. The next thing to do is to get the key buffs. Now, I was talked about like ally protect, increased defense, increased speed and counter attack as well. They're all going to help your damage, but your survivability. So kind of the debuffs and buffs, you want to kind of work in as many as possible. I'd probably say focus on your debuffs first and then start working in your buffs, but if you can do both at the same time, that's really going to help your damage and survivability. So I've talked about some buffs there, but you can also incorporate heals and revives into your team, and these can be really key, and as well as shields, and we've got debuff extenders. There's a lot of very specific kind of roles that come in here. So somebody like a Bulwark, for instance, can extend debuffs, or Septimus, Vizier, obviously, Warlord. But then we have other skills like shields, block debuffs too, that can be very useful for blocking stuns on the clan boss, or poisons and all the debuffs the clan boss can place. And then revives. Revives can be really, really strong on the clan boss, so do not underestimate these at all. And then obviously you've got your heals from characters such as Apothecary, Arbiter, Vrask. There's a whole slew of champions basically that can heal. So they can help too, just because they keep you alive longer or revive you or block debuffs. So they're a little bit more niche, particularly with the revives and the block debuffs and the debuff extenders. But heals can be fantastic, particularly AoE heals. You can get that from your lifesteal gear, or you can get it from champions such as Apothecary or whatever else you've got that might be able to fill that role. So the next thing to do is obviously the Minotaur. If you've not done the Minotaur grind yet, that will drastically increase your damage. So you'll go from dealing, just your regular damage to having those Warmaster and Giant Slayer procs in there as well, where multi-hit A1s can be really fantastic. So you're getting multiple chances to do extra damage based on the max HP of the boss. And generally speaking, your first Minotaur grind will usually be with your clan boss team, because that's going to improve your damage the most, and the clan boss has some really nice rewards. Next up is to book the characters that you're going to use on your clan boss team if they're a long-term character that you can see yourself using for a good amount of time. Now, obviously, it's always difficult to know what you're going to pull and stuff like that. But generally speaking, if you're using a character like Kale on clan boss, you're probably going to keep him for a while. Definitely want to book him. There are a slew of videos out there on who to book, who shouldn't I book, etc., and what makes a champion good versus bad. There's lots of other videos on which characters are really great on clan boss and things like that. So I won't go into that into too much detail because this is just a quick video on some quickfire ways that you can kind of boost your damage. A bonus tip is actually going to be that if you can't reach the last chest on whichever difficulty you're on with 3 or maybe 4 keys at a push, you probably want to move down a difficulty, because getting that last chest is really important. And if you can't get it, you're going to have an easier time getting the same value chest on the next difficulty down, basically. So don't try too hard to push the content that is really, really difficult and maybe you're not able to do so well. And the next thing to do is going to be the synergy in your team. For instance, if you've got 2 characters that are doing the same debuff or buff, you might not need them. Maybe you can put somebody else in that's going to do a better job. This is a team building game and a character collecting game, so it's really difficult sometimes to know what's best and what's going to work better, etc. So if we just run over to clan boss quickly, knowing which characters bring what and what sort of comp you're going for is really important. This being a speed comp, so I am missing some key abilities such as defense up and ally protect and counter attack, but because I'm attacking it in a very niche or specific manner, I'm trying to achieve one thing, which is get lots of damage in as soon as possible. I am still bringing that attack down, defense down, weaken, poison, as well as some turn me to boost, speed boost as well, and just generally the team meshes quite well together. So it's the same with like an unkillable team, okay, which will be nerfed at some point. So I didn't want to go over it too much, but just as an example, you're using a very specific team setup to achieve something. So like this is a speed team, but an unkillable team does something else. A counter-attack team, again, does something else. A double counter is, again, does something different. And there are different ways and different teams to build if you've got the specific champions, abilities, and characters. So it's just worth bearing in mind. Check out, see what you've got. Check out some of the other guys on YouTube and see kind of what teams they can use, and you can hopefully try and get a bit of an idea of, what might work with the champions that you've got. But these were just some ways that you can generally improve your damage, accuracy being really important, speed, the defense on your characters, the masteries, the gear, and you can, like when you get War Master and Giant Slayer, you can actually start switching to lifesteal gear to heal your characters because they heal off the procs, things like that. Just like these things that can really change your team round and the dynamic of how you're actually going about tackling the clan boss, which is a huge part of the game. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. I know it's kind of short, and I know it's probably for more early game players. It's not too in-depth, but I just wanted to hit some key points about ways that you can improve your damage. Maybe you didn't know about some of these. For me, I know earlier on it was the change into defensive gear that made the biggest difference for me, because my Kale, for instance, was in like attack gear and stuff like that. But switching to defense made a really big difference because he was surviving longer and therefore was able to apply more debuffs and live. So, yeah. Anyway, hope this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next one.